Pharisees, some of the scribes who'd come from Jerusalem, gathered round Jesus, and they noticed that some of his disciples were eating with unclean hands, that is, without washing them. For the Pharisees, and the Jews in general, follow the tradition of the elders and never eat without washing their arms as far as the elbows, and on returning from the marketplace, they never eat without first sprinkling themselves. There are also many other observances which have been handed down to them concerning the washing of cups and pots and bronze dishes. So these Pharisees and scribes asked him, "Why do your disciples not respect the traditions of the elders, but eat their food with unclean hands?" He answered, "It was of you hypocrites that Isaiah so rightly prophesied in this passage of Scripture. This people honours me only with lip service, while their hearts are far from me. The worship they offer me is worthless. The doctrines they teach only human regulations. You put aside the commandment of God to cling to human traditions." He called the people to him again and said, "Listen to me, all of you, and understand. Nothing that goes into a man from outside can make him unclean. It's the things that come out of a man that make him unclean. For it is from within, from men's hearts, that evil intentions emerge: fornication, theft, murder, adultery, avarice, malice, deceit, indecency, envy, slander, pride, folly. All these evil things come from within and make a man unclean." Do you ever get tempted to jump the lights when they're at red? When you can clearly see that there's nothing coming the other way? Are you ever tempted just to drive through them? Why is it that we sit and wait patiently, impatiently at a red light, even though we can see it's safe to drive on through? We're frightened that someone will catch us, that we will be done for driving without care and attention, even though we've been very careful and attentive. Is it that you're not sure that it is safe, that something might appear out of nowhere and there'd be an accident and it was your fault, you'd get the blame because you went through a red light? No. Is it because it's the habit? We see a red light and we stop and we wait until the light turns to green. Most of us do stop though, don't we? When the light's red, we just pull in and wait for it to turn green, patiently or impatiently. It is about safety, but not everyone sees it that way. In fact, there's a new version of the Highway Code come out recently, just a few weeks ago, I think. And it emphasizes, as the Highway Code has always emphasized, that it's about safety. It's about the well-being and the safety of all road users. It's trying to keep us safe. The new version emphasizes it even more. There's a subtle shift in the way it talks about it, that those with the greatest potential to do harm, they're the ones who have the greatest responsibility for keeping others safe, other road users safe. So the biggest and the heaviest and the fastest, they're the ones that can do the damage. They're the ones who are expected to give way to others. It's a bit of a change. It's a move in favour of pedestrians and cyclists. At least that's what it's been billed as. One of the places you see people's attitude to the Highway Code is with speeds. been said that I live my life at 60 in a 70-mile-an-hour world, and I drive in the same way. I'm often being pulled up for driving slowly. Can your car not go faster? Has it got a fifth gear? Well, just because the speed limit is 60 or 70 doesn't mean you need to drive at 60 or 70. In fact, the highway code doesn't say you should at all. The highway code says you should drive at a speed that is safe for the given conditions and not exceeding the maximum speed limit. So yeah, if the speed limit's 70, you can drive up to 70 if it's safe to do so. But if it's not safe, then don't. Drive slower. Some people just ignore the speed limit altogether, don't they? It's hard for me to tell because I drive slowly and most people pass me. But some people do seem to ignore it. They drive at whatever speed takes their fancy. Although some of them are still frightened of being caught. You see the brake lights come on if they see a police car in the distance, or they know they're coming up to a speed camera, or a safety camera as they're more properly called. Others will sit at 60 or 70, whatever the speed limit is, in the middle lane, because nobody should be going faster because the speed limit's 70. And I'm perfectly entitled to sit here, except you're not. The highway code says it's not safe to hog the middle lane, move over to the left, and stay as far left as it's safe to do so. They forget that they're not sticking to the rules of the road themselves, that hogging the middle lane is dangerous, causes people to take risks. That idea that, well, the law says I can drive at 70, so I'm going to drive at 70. That idea that, well, the law is the law, that's a kind of mistake that the Pharisees made. They knew that the law was there to keep them in good standing with God, but they lost sight of that relationship. Well, kind of. It's not that they lost sight of their relationship with God, but they forgot how the law was intended to help them maintain that relationship, to grow in that relationship. They put their faith in the law, not in the love of God, in the ability of God to continually draw people to Himself, whether they stuck by the laws of Moses or not. The same is true for us at times. We've got lots of rules and regulations and traditions, but sometimes we forget how they came about, what it is that they're there to protect and preserve. Our traditions and practices are intended to help us in our relationship with God, intended to set us free so that we can trust God's love and that we grow in that love. I suppose the question for me, listening to that gospel today about Pharisees' rigidity in keeping the law, but losing sight of the reasons behind the law, of how that law is intended to help, why do we do the same?